The door creaked open like a thunderclap in the quiet of my soul. And there he was, Levi, my stepson, his eyes locking onto mine as I stood half-naked, towel slipping from my hips, the air thick with the steam of my forgotten shower. In that frozen heartbeat, the world narrowed to the heat rising between us, a forbidden spark igniting something primal and terrifying that neither of us could name. I should have turned away, shouted, anything to shatter the moment, but instead, I felt my breath catch, my body betraying me with a rush of warmth that whispered, "This is wrong. But God, it feels like home." It was a Tuesday morning in late summer, the kind that clings to your skin in our sleepy corner of suburban Seattle, where the evergreens whisper secrets to the rain-soaked streets. I'd married his mother, Sarah, 5 years ago. A whirlwind romance born from grief, hers for a lost husband, mine for a life half lived in the shadows of my own unspoken truths. She was vibrant, a force of nature with her laughter that could chase away storms. And Levi was her anchor, her 13-year-old shadow back then, all gangly limbs and quiet storms brewing behind those blue eyes that mirrored the Puget Sound on a turbulent day. We built a family out of fragments, barbecues in the backyard where I'd flip burgers while he kicked a soccer ball against the fence, movie nights where he'd steal the popcorn bowl and she'd curl into my side, pretending the cracks weren't widening. But Sarah's cancer came like a thief in the night, stealing her breath by breath until she was gone, leaving behind a house that echoed with her absence and a boy, now a man, who looked at me with eyes that held too much weight. Levi turned 18 last spring, his body filling out into the lean, athletic frame of someone who'd channeled every ounce of pain into runs along the misty trails of Discovery Park. I watched him from afar. David Harlan, 35 and adrift, a graphic designer who sketched dreams he never dared voice. My own queerness buried under layers of straight performances for a world that demanded normalcy. Mornings like this, I'd linger in the bathroom, the mirror fogged with regrets, convincing myself that the ache in my chest was just loneliness, not the dangerous pull toward the one person I was sworn to protect. That glance lingered too long. Levi's cheeks flushed, not with embarrassment, but something deeper, a flicker of recognition that made my pulse thunder. "Sorry. Dottie mean. David," he stammered, his voice cracking like it had when he was younger, but lower now, laced with a gravel that sent shivers down my spine. He didn't back out. He stepped in, closing the door softly behind him, the click echoing like a verdict. The towel hit the floor, forgotten, as his gaze traced the lines of my body, the faint scar from a childhood fall. The tattoo of a compass rose on my ribs that Sarah had loved. I didn't mean to," he whispered, but his eyes said otherwise. Hungry and haunted, I grabbed a shirt from the hamper, fumbling to cover myself, my heart slamming against my ribs like it wanted to escape. "Levi? What the hell?" My voice came out rough, not angry, but laced with the fear of what this meant. He was so close now, the scent of his morning run sweat and pine mingling with the lavender soap from my shower. In the small town we'd chosen for its quiet, where neighbors waved from picket fences and church bells tolled on Sundays. This was the line we'd towed for months, stolen glances over breakfast, his hand brushing mine when passing the salt, the way he'd linger in the doorway of my home office, asking about my sketches with questions that felt like confessions. "I heard you," he said, his back against the door, fists clenched at his sides. "Crying again. Last night." The words hung heavy, slicing through the steam. I'd thought the sobs were silent, muffled into my pillow after another dream of hands on skin that weren't hers or anyone's, except in the forbidden corners of my mind where Levi appeared, unbidden and unrelenting. He took a step forward, his sneakers silent on the tile, and I froze, the shirt dangling from my fingers. "You're hurting, and you won't let me in." Why? Because you're my son. I wanted to roar not by blood, but by every promise I made to Sarah on her hospital bed, her frail hand in mine as she whispered, "Take care of him, David. Love him like your own." But the air crackled, electric with the unsaid, and when his fingers grazed my arm tentative, trembling, something inside me fractured. I pulled him close, not as a father, but as a man drowning, our foreheads touching, breaths mingling in the humid air. "Levi," I murmured, my voice breaking. "We can't." But we did. His lips found mine in a rush of desperation, soft and urgent, tasting of mint and the salt of unshed tears. It was a kiss born of isolation, of two souls adrift in a house too big for ghosts. My hands cupped his face, thumbs tracing the sharp line of his jaw. And for a moment, the world outside the judgmental eyes of our cul-de-sac, the whispers of what family should be faded to nothing. He pressed against me, his body hard and yielding, a perfect fit that terrified me with its rightness. We stumbled back, the sink digging into my hip. But neither cared. It was fire and flood, a crossing that etched itself into our bones. When we broke apart, gasping, his eyes searched mine, wide with wonder and fear. "I've wanted this," he confessed, voice raw, "since the funeral, when you held me and I felt safe." More than that. My stomach twisted, guilt crashing over me like a Seattle downpour. He was 18, legal in the eyes of the law, but in the court of my heart, I was the adult, the guardian, the one who should know better. "Levi, the Susit's a mess. Your mom, she'd want us happy." He cut in, fierce, his hands fisting my shirt. Not alone. We stood there, tangled in the aftermath, the mirror reflecting two men forever changed, the steam clearing to reveal the truth we'd both hidden. I was gay, had always been, burying it under a marriage of convenience and love for a woman who deserved better. Levi, with his crushes on the soccer team captain that he'd confessed in drunken whispers at 16, was carving his own path through the fog of identity. That afternoon, we pretended. I drove him to his shift at the local coffee shop, the radio humming indie folk that spoke of lost loves, our knees brushing in the truck's cab like an accusation. He texted me from work, "Can't stop thinking about your mouth." I deleted it, then saved it, my fingers trembling over the screen. Dinner was takeout Thai, spicy enough to burn away the awkward silences. But when he laughed at my bad chopstick skills head thrown back, throat exposed, I felt the pull again, magnetic and merciless. Nights blurred into a dangerous rhythm. We'd watch movies in the living room, the glow of the screen casting shadows that danced like lovers. His head on my shoulder until it slipped lower, my arm around him tightening like a vice. One evening, as rain lashed the windows, he straddled my lap on the couch, our kisses deepening into exploration hands under shirts, breaths hitching as we mapped each other's scars. "Tell me you're not scared," he whispered against my neck, his teeth grazing skin that pebbled under his touch. "I'm terrified," I admitted, pulling him closer, our hips grinding in a slow, sinful rhythm that built like a storm. "Of losing you, of this destroying us." But fear was no match for the ache. We tumbled to the floor, clothes shedding like old skins, bodies joining in a frenzy of need and tenderness. He was gentle, reverent, tracing my tattoos with lips that promised forever. And I lost myself in him, in the way he arched and gasped my name, David. Not dad like a prayer. Weeks turned to a fragile bliss. Stolen moments in the garage where I'd fix his bike and he'd press me against the workbench. Or lazy Sundays in bed, sunlight filtering through curtains as we talked about everything and nothing. Levi opened up about his fears, the bullying in high school for being too soft, The confusion of desires that didn't fit the straight-laced mold of our town. I thought I was broken, he said one dawn, his head on my chest, fingers tracing lazy circles on my skin. Until you. I shared my own ghosts, the college boyfriend I'd ghosted out of shame, the therapy sessions after Sarah's death where I'd skirted the truth of my orientation. I loved her, I told him, voice thick. But not like this. Not like you make me feel alive. Our love was a rebellion, raw and real, laced with the thrill of secrecy notes hidden in lunch bags. Code words for I miss your touch whispered over phone calls when he was at college tours in Portland. But cracks formed, inevitable as the fault lines under the Cascades. Levi's best friend, Tyler, noticed the shift the way Levi's eyes lit up when I entered a room. The lingering hugs that crossed into caress. Dude, you're glowing or something. Tyler teased over burgers at the diner. But his eyes narrowed. Suspicion flickering. Levi brushed it off. But I saw the worry etch lines on his young face. The weight of our secret pressing down. Then came the night that shattered the illusion. We'd planned a quiet evening. Candles flickering on the kitchen table romantic. Reckless when my sister, Elena, called unannounced. She arrived with wine and condolences renewed, her sharp lawyer's eyes scanning our home like evidence. Levi and I sat too close on the couch, our thighs touching under the blanket. And when he laughed at her story, his hand squeezed my knee asleep. Innocent in intent, but damning in context. Elena paused, glass midway to her lips. David, what's going on here? You too. You're different. The air thickened, Levi's hand jerking away like burned. I forced a laugh, blaming it on just getting closer after everything. But her gaze lingered, probing. She left late, hugging us both a beat too long. And in the driveway, her text buzzed, be careful. Brother, love like that can break more than it builds. Levi paced the living room, fury and fear warring on his face. She knows. Fuck. David. What if she tells someone? My aunt. The neighbors. I pulled him into my arms, holding him as he shook. We'll handle it. Together. But doubt crept in, a poison seeping through our veins. The next day, Levi withdrew, holing up in his room with textbooks for his upcoming community college classes. The door a barrier I didn't dare cross. I knocked once. Twice. My voice muffled through wood. Talk to me. Levi? Please. Silence answered, broken only by the distant hum of traffic on I-5. Desperation drove me to the park that evening, the same trails where he'd run off his demons. I found him on a bench overlooking the sound, knees drawn up, staring at the water as fairies cut through the dusk. I can't do this, he said when I sat beside him, voice hollow, hiding, pretending. It feels like lying to Mom's memory. Tears tracked down his cheeks, and mine joined them, the salt mingling as I took his hand. Then let's stop hiding. Tell me what you need. He turned, eyes fierce through the pain. You. Us. But real. No more shadows. We kissed there, under the canopy of madronas, uncaring of joggers or dog walkers who might glimpse USA step toward visibility, toward owning the love that had bloomed in secrecy. Back home, we burned the pretense, photos of Sarah rearranged to honor her without haunting us. A new frame on the mantel holding a candid shot of us laughing at the county fair. Shoulders touching. Word spread, as it does in small towns. Whispers at the grocery store. Tyler confronting Levi with a mix of confusion and support, if it's real. Man. Own it. But damn. Your stepdad. Levi stood tall. Voice steady. He's the man I love. Deal with it or don't. Elena called, her voice softening over time, offering resources therapists versed in queer family dynamics. Support groups in Seattle's Capitol Hill where rainbows flew unapologetically. The real storm hit at Thanksgiving, when Sarah's brother, Uncle Mark, arrived from Boise with his Bible-quoting wife and their wide-eyed kids. Dinner was a minefield, turkey carved with tense precision. Levi and I seated across from each other, feet entwined under the table like an anchor. Mark's eyes darted, his fork pausing mid-bite. "Heard some talk," he said finally, voice low. "About you two. It's unnatural, David. Sinful." The room erupted, Levi slamming his napkin down. "Love isn't a sin, Uncle Mark. It's the only holy thing I've got left." I rose, hand on Levi's shoulder, steadying us both. We didn't choose this path. It chose us. And Sarasht want Levi happy, not judged. Mark's face reddened, arguments flying like arrows. But in the chaos, something shifted. His wife, quiet till then, spoke up. "We've got a nephew who's gay." Hiding it tore him apart. If this is love, maybe God's bigger than our fears. Not everyone stayed. Mark left early, vowing distance, and ripples spread. Lost clients for my freelance work. Sideways glances at Levi's job. But in the wreckage, we found strength. Levi enrolled in art classes at Seattle Central, his sketches echoing mine, bold lines of bodies intertwined, colors vibrant with defiance. We volunteered at the local LGBTQ center, sharing our story in hushed groups where eyes lit with recognition. You're not alone. Winter thawed into spring, our love weathering the gales. One April evening, as cherry blossoms dusted the backyard like confetti, Levi dropped to one knee on the deck we'd built together, him hammering nails at 14, me guiding his hands. In his palm, a simple silver band, etched with a compass rose. "David Harlan, you've been my north since the day you walked in." Merry minute to hide, but to shout it from every rooftop in this damn town. Tears blurred my vision as I pulled him up, our kiss sealing vows unspoken. "Yes," I breathed, 1,000 times. The wedding was small, on a ferry gliding the Sound. Elena officiating with a grin, Tyler toasting with beer foam flying. We danced under stars, bodies pressed close. The line we'd crossed now a bridge to a life unapologetic. Years later, in our home by the water, remodeled with rooms for the foster kids we'd take in, giving them the family we once pieced together. Levi sketches beside me, his hand in mine. We've crossed lines, yes, but they've led to horizons vast and kind. Love, in all its messy glory, erases nothing. It redraws the map, showing us the way home. The ferry's wake churned behind us as we motored back to the dock, the salt spray kissing our faces like an old friend. Levi's laughter rang out, pure and unfiltered, mingling with the gulls' creases sound. I'd fight wars to protect. We'd set our vows in whispers against the wind, rings exchanged with trembling fingers. Elena's voice booming over the waves, by the power vested in me by the state of Washington and a whole lot of love. I pronounce you partners in every sense. Cheers erupted from our ragtag crew, Tyler hoisting a cooler of craft beers, Levi's old soccer coach clapping my back with a gruff, "About time, Harlan." But bliss is a fragile thing, easily upended by the tide. That night, as we collapsed into our bed, now our bed, sheets tangled from lovemaking that felt like claiming territory, heard the knock. Sharp, insistent. At 2 a.m., Levi bolted upright, his naked form silhouetted by moonlight, eyes wide. Who the hell? I slipped on boxers, heart pounding, and padded to the door, peering through the peephole. Mark stood there, rain-slicked and shadowed, his face a mask of regret and resolve. "David," he said when I opened the door, voice gravelly from the drive. "We need to talk." Levi appeared behind me, Towel knotted at his waist, arms crossed like armor. Mark's gaze flicked between us, softening infinitesimally at the sight of his nephew, taller now, broader, but still the boy he'd bounced on his knee. "Come in." I relented, gesturing to the living room where candles from dinner still flickered, casting long shadows. He sank into the armchair, hands clasped like in prayer. "I was wrong," he started, the words tumbling out like he'd rehearsed them on the interstate. "Drove all night after praying, real praying. Not the fire and brimstone kind. Saw my boy, your stepson, know your husband now, and realized I'd let hate blind me to family." Levi's shoulders eased, but suspicion lingered in his stance. "Aunt Clara, she send you?" Mark shook his head, a wry smile cracking his facade. "Nah, she's still spouting Leviticus at Thanksgiving. But I saw how you look at each other like Sarah looked at you. That's love. Plain and simple. And if God's got a problem with it, he can take it up with me." We talked till dawn, stories spilling, his own buried doubts. A college flirtation with a roommate he'd never pursued. The fear of losing his church flock. By sunrise, coffee steaming on the table. Hugs were exchanged awkward. Real. A mending of rifts. Mark stayed for breakfast, flipping pancakes with Levi like old times. The kitchen alive with banter that chased away ghosts. He left with promises of visits. A check for the wedding we missed. And a quiet, "Take care of each other." The door clicked shut, and Levi turned to me, eyes shining. "Think it's real?" I pulled him close, nuzzling his neck. "Real as this." Our kiss deepened, bodies reigniting the fire from hours before, tumbling to the rug in a heap of limbs and laughter. Life settled into a rhythm, but Seattle's rains brought their own tempests. Levi's art took off his pieces, bold explorations of queer identity, selling at galleries in Pioneer Square. I freelanced more, my designs infused with the colors of our story, deep indigos of longing, fiery oranges of passion. We adopted our first foster kid, Jamie, a 15-year-old trans boy with a mohawk and a sketchbook full of dreams, teaching him to navigate a world that often felt like a storm. One crisp October afternoon, as leaves crunched underfoot in Green Lake Park, Levi proposed a road trip. Back to where it started, he said, packing the truck with coolers and canvases. We drove south, the Cascades giving way to the arid sprawl of eastern Washington, stopping at roadside diners where pie was always a la mode and waitresses called us "you too." In Spokane, we hiked the river trails, hands linked openly. The stares from passers-by met with Levi's defiant chin up. But the past has teeth. In a small town off the highway Walla Walla, with its wine country charmway, checked into a B&B run by a silver-haired couple who'd owned it for decades. The wife, Marge, cooed over our rings, sharing stories of her sons coming out in the 80s. Her husband, Earl, grunted approval over biscuits. That evening, as we strolled vineyards heavy with grapes, Levi's phone buzzed a number from Boise. "Dad," he answered, voice tentative. It was Mark, but not with good news. "Clara's stirring trouble," he said, static crackling. "Told the family pastor about the wedding. He's threatening to go public some newsletter. Expose you as." "Well, you know." Levi's face drained of color, grip tightening on the phone. "Why now? After everything?" Mark sighed. "Jealousy. Maybe. Or fear. But I'm handling a talk to a lawyer friend. Just watch your backs." We cut the trip short, the drive home a blur of tense silences and white-knuckled steering. Back in Seattle, the storm broke, an email from an anonymous church account, forwarded by Elena, detailing our immoral union with Bible verses and calls for boycotts. My inbox flooded with hate loss commissions, vile messages labeling me predator. Levi's gallery show faced protests. Picketers with signs screaming repent. Nights were the worst. Levi tossed in fevered dreams, waking with cries of mom. Make it stop. His body curling into mine for solace. I'd hold him, whispering assurances. But guilt gnawed. This is my fault. I crossed the line first. One dawn, as fog blanketed the sound, he confronted me in the kitchen, coffee mug shattering on the tile. We can't keep running. Fight or fold. Fight, I said, pulling him into a fierce embrace. We went public on our terms. Levi's Instagram post. A photo of us on the ferry. Caption reading love crossed our lines now, it redraws the world. It went viral. Shares rippling through queer communities. Support pouring in from strangers who'd walked similar paths. Elena rallied legal aid. Tyler organized a counter-rally at the gala rain-soaked, but roaring with pride flags. The climax came at a town hall in our suburb, called by the pastor to address moral decay. We showed up, hands clasped. Levi's voice steady as he took the mic. You call it sin. I call it salvation. David saved me when I was lost. Loved me when the world said no. Applause thundered, mixed with boos. But eyes met ours, neighbors nodding. A teen in the back whispering thanks. The pastor faltered, his fire dimmed by the light of truths laid bare. In the aftermath, bridges burned, but new ones rose. Clara sent a letter, tear-stained, apologizing for the pain her fears wrought. We forgave, not forgetting, but releasing. Jamie, our foster son, came out to us one Christmas, hugging tight. If you too can make it, so can I. Our family grew adoptions. Thanksgivings with Mark and Elena. Art shows where Levi's work hung beside mine. Titled lines erased. As snow fell that winter, Levi and I stood on our deck, watching flakes dance. Worth it? He asked, breath fogging the air. I kissed his temple, heart full. Every cross, every line. You. He grinned, that boyish spark undimmed. Infinite times over. Love, we'd learned, doesn't erase lines, it illuminates them, guiding us through the dark to dawn. Spring unfurled in Seattle like a promise kept. Tulips pushing through the soil in our backyard gardenia patch Sarah had planted, now tended by hands that bore our rings. Levi and I worked it side by side, knees muddied, his laughter bubbling as he flicked dirt at me. You're terrible at weeding, he teased, but his eyes held that depth, the one that saw through to my core. Jamie joined us sometimes, his new hormone patches a badge of courage, asking questions about our story with the wide-eyed hunger of youth. Did it hurt? The coming out. He'd probe, and we'd share the raw edges, teaching him that vulnerability is the sharpest strength. Work steadied. My designs landing a contract with a queer-owned apparel line tees emblazoned with slogans like Cross the Line, Claim Your Love. Levi's pieces fetched higher prices. Galleries clamoring for his series on forbidden embraces. Bodies intertwined in hues of twilight purple and dawn gold. Evenings. We'd cook pasta carbonara, his specialty. Sauce simmering as we swayed to Norah Jones on the old record player. Bodies fitting like puzzle pieces worn smooth by time. But peace is a garden too. Weeds lurking beneath the blooms. Tyler, ever the loyal firebrand, dropped a bomb over beers at the Alki Beach pub, heard from an old teammate Levi's high school crush. That captain, Jake, he's back in town, sniffing around. Says he saw Levi's post. Wants to catch up. Levi's fork paused midair at dinner that night, face paling. Jake. After all this time. I forced calm, but jealousy coiled in my gut. A serpent whispering doubts. He's young. What if regret calls him back to normal? Levi assured me, curling into my lap on the couch, lips brushing my ear. That was kid stuff. Confusion. You're my everything. We made love slowly that night, reaffirming boundaries with touches that spoke louder than words, his nails raking my back, my name a mantra on his tongue. Still, when Jake texted, "Hey man, coffee," miss our talks, Levi showed me, deleting it with a decisive swipe. No ghosts, he said, but I saw the flicker, the what if haunting his sleep. The real unraveling came with a letter from Sarah's estate lawyer, yellowed envelope trembling in my hands. Forgotten codicil, the man explained over speakerphone, voice dry as dust. Sarah left a trust for Levi, modest, but with strings. Annual reviews by a family board, including Mark and Clara. If instability, funds could redirect to charity. Instability. The word hung like smoke. Clara's influence clear in the subtext. Levi read it aloud, voice cracking on moral character, crumpling the paper. They think we're a phase, a scandal. Rage boiled, but I channeled it into action, calling Elena, who tore into the will like a shark scenting blood. Outdated bullshit, she snarled. We'll contest. But Levi withdrew again. That old pattern, runs turning marathon long, sketches turning dark with jagged lines. One night, I found him on the roof of our star deck, a perch we'd built for stargazing, knees to chest, staring at Orion. What if they're right? He whispered when I climbed up, blanket draped over us. What if this love costs you everything, your peace? My future? I tilted his chin, eyes locking. It already has. And I'd pay double. Our kiss was salt-tinged, desperate, bodies pressing on the cool shingles as the city hummed below. But words needed saying, Levi, you're not a cost. You're the dividend. Dawn broke with plants a counter-trust, community backing, vowing to fight not for money, but for legacy. Summer scorched in, heat waves warping the air, mirroring the fever in our veins. Jake reappeared at Levi's gallery opening, tall and polished in a button-down, eyes lingering too long. Proud of you, Lev, he said, handshake turning hug, my stomach twisting as I circulated with wine flutes. Levi pulled away gracefully, introducing me, my husband, David. Jake's smile faltered. Recovery quick, lucky guy. But later, in the alley behind the venue, Levi confessed the pull-knot desire. But closure. He was my first almost kiss. Needed to see he's just a memory. We hashed it out in the truck. Windows down. Wind whipping confessions. Jealous? Levi asked. Hand on my thigh. Terrified. I admitted. Of losing the boy who walked in on me. He laughed. Raw and real. That boy's a man now. All yours. Home. We reclaimed each other's shower steam and slick skin. Vows renewed in gasps and grips. Jamie's integration brought light, his first pride parade. Rainbow face, paint smudged. Marching between us with a sign love wins. But shadows lengthened when Mark called. Voice heavy, Clara's rallying the board. Hearing next month. We prepared. Elena drilling us like witnesses. But fear festered. Levi's runs turned erratic. Once collapsing from exhaustion on the trail and finding him. Pulse fluttering under my fingers. Ambulance lights flashing like accusations. Hospital waiting room, sterile white. My hand in his as monitors beeped. Don't you dare leave me. I growled. Tears hot. He squeezed back. Weak grin, not without you. Discharge brought rest. But resolve, we faced the board in a stuffy conference room. Clara's eyes cold steel. Levi spoke first. Voice steady. This trust is mom's love. Not a leash. Judge us by our hearts. Not headlines. Elena dismantled the clauses. Precedents flying like arrows. Clara cracked. Whispering post-hearing. Sarah would hate this ugliness. Victory tasted bittersweet, fun secured. But scars lingered. Fall painted the leaves gold. And we escaped to the Olympics. Cabin in the woods where no lines existed. Levi sketched by the fire. Me cooking venison stew. Nights lost in each other. Think we'll ever stop fighting? He mused. Head on my chest. Nah. I replied. But we fight together. Back home. We planted a tree for Sarah Cherry. Resilient roots entwining like ours. Winter whispered of change. Jamie's adoption finalized. His room bursting with posters of queer icons. Tyler proposed to his girlfriend at our New Year's bash. Toast slurring into dawn. Levi and I danced in the kitchen. Slow and sure. The line we'd crossed now a horizon. Vast and welcoming. Love's not erasure. It's eternal rewrite. Each chapter bolder. The cherry tree budded early that year. Pink promises against gray skies. A reminder that even in Seattle's drizzle, life insisted on blooming. Levi and I marked our first anniversary with a hike to Rattlesnake Ledge, sweaty ascent. Vista sprawling like a gift. At the top, wind tousling his hair. He pulled a locket from his pocket, Sarah's, with a photo of us three, now joined by one of Jamie grinning gap-toothed. Full circle, he said, fastening it around my neck. Our kiss tasted of exertion and eternity. Bodies leaning into the edge. Fearless. Jamie's high school journey tested us and new bullies targeting his trans identity. Echoes of Levi's past. We attended meetings. Advocated with counselors. Levi sharing his scars. I hid too long. Don't you hide. Jamie flourished. Joining the GSA. His art echoing Levi's fierce. Unapologetic. Evenings. The three of us, plus me, crowded the table for game nights. Monopoly fortunes rising and falling amid laughter that filled the empty spaces. Professionally. Waves crested. My apparel line launched at Pride. Booths swarmed. Levi modeling a tee with lines redrawn across his chest. Critics raved. But trolls lurked online, dredging the old scandal. One night, a death threat pinged Levi's DMS centers, burns ending him spiraling. I held him through the panic attack. Breath sinking. Calling Elena for a restraining order. They're cowards. I murmured. Rocking him. We shine too bright. To reclaim power, we started a podcast, Cross Lines. Raw talks on queer family. Guests from Capitol Hill activists to foster parents. Episodes dropped weekly. Listeners pouring stories, a step-parent's forbidden love. A teen's coming out amid divorce. Levi's voice, steady and warm, drew them in. Mine added the gravel of experience. Ratings climbed. Sponsors followed queer brands. Therapy apps turning pain into purpose. But family tides turned treacherous. Mark's health scary, a heart episode during a Boise hike pulled us east. We flew out. Jamie in tow. Hospital corridors smelling of antiseptic and regret. Mark, pale in his gown, gripped Levi's hand. Missed too much. Don't let me miss more. Clara hovered. Thawed by crisis. Her hand on mine in apology. I was scared for him. For heaven. Forgive an old fool. We did. Dinners thawing into warmth. Her baking Sarah's apple pie recipe with trembling hands. Back west. Inspiration struck. Levi pitched a graphic novel. Erased lines. Our story fictionalized characters navigating taboo love in a rainy city. I illustrated. Brushes dancing over panels of stolen glances. Heated confessions. Publisher's bit. Deadlines blurring days into nights of creativity. Takeout forgotten amid sketches and sex on the studio floor. Jamie contributed covers. His vision bold, intertwined figures against a fractured skyline. Launch night at Elliott Bay Bookstore, crowds snaking the aisles. Levi reading excerpts with voice like velvet thunder. Q&A turned confessional, a fan. Tearful, your story saved my Mariagito, my stepmom. Applause swelled. But outside, paparazzi flashes blinded. Tabloids twisting headlines. Taboo romance exposed. We retreated to the truck. Levi's head on the wheel. Fame's a double-edged sword. I drove us home. Hand in his, we wheeled it our way. Autumn deepened. Leaves carpeting paths. When Jamie's crisis high-to-school fight. Black eye blooming. Whispers of freak echoing. He shut down. Room a fortress. Levi coaxed him out with ice cream and talks. Pain's the price of authenticity. We enrolled him in therapy. Group sessions where he found kin. Slowly, smiles returned. His first date, a shy boy from GS met with our awkward cheers. Holiday lights twinkled as we hosted Elena's brood. Chaos of kids and eggnog. Mark FaceTimed from recovery. Toasting, to lines crossed and hearts mended. Levi and I snuck to the deck. Snow flurrying. Breaths mingling. Proud of us? He asked. Fiercely. I replied, pulling him close. Love's lines. Weed etched deep enduring. Evolving. A map to forever. Yet winter's chill brought frost. A gallery in Portland canceled Levi's show. Citing controversy. Rage flared. But we pivoted pop-up in Seattle. Community-backed. Lines out the door. Success stung sweeter for the slight. Jamie's prom loomed. Tuck's fittings amid jokes. His confidence a bloom we'd nurtured. As crocuses pushed through, Levi surprised May a weekend at the San Juans. Ferry to Orcas Island. Cabin by the sea. We kayaked Dawn waters. Seals barking approval. Evenings in rockers with wine. Remember that first kiss? He mused. Toes entwined. Steamy bathroom. Heart in throat. I laughed. Pulling him to the rug. Best mistake. Our lovemaking was unhurried. Reverent. Bodies knowing every curve. Return brought news. Book deal expanded to series. Erased lines sequels charting growth. Podcast hit milestones. Invites to TEDx. But balance teetered Levi exhausted. Dark circles under eyes. Pace yourself. I urged. Massages turning intimate. He promised. But drive burned bright. Spring equinox. We renewed vows private. Under the cherry tree. Jamie officiating with grin. Petals rained as we kissed. Rings glinting. To endless crossings. Levi whispered. Life's lines. Blurred and bold. Led onward toward light. Summer solstice sun baked the pavement as we loaded the truck for our annual Escape Glacier National Park this time. Epic drives and tent pitches under big skies. Jamie, now 17 and lanky, argued playlists. His tastes skewing indie rock while Levi defended folk. I mediated with snacks. Heart swelling at their banter. This patchwork family we'd forged from fractures. Trails wound through wildflowers. Bear bells jingling. Levi's hand in mine as Jamie scouted ahead. Evenings by campfire. Stories spun ghost tales morphing into our own myth. The stepdad and son who defied the stars. Back home. Heat lingered. Mirroring the simmer in our lives. Erased lines hit shelves. Reviews glowing. A tender gut punch on love's taboos. Signings packed. Fans hugging Levi with "You gave me courage." But online venom spiked trolls doxing our address. Packages of hate mail thudding on the porch. Elena beefed security. But fear crept. Levi double-checked. Jamie flinching at shadows. To counter, we launched a Foundation Crossed Lines collective. Funding queer youth art and therapy. First event, gala at the waterfront. Donors mingling with foster kids, showcasing work. Levi emceed. Charisma electric. Me beaming from the sidelines. A donor approached. Silver-haired philanthropist, your story inspired my will everything to LGBTQ causes. Tears pricked. Purpose pulsed stronger. Jamie's senior year Ramped College apps to UW. Essays on resilience. He came out fully at school assembly. Speech trembling, but true. My dad's taught me love's not linear. Backlash hit admin calls. Parent complaints, but support surged. Assembly footage viral. We celebrated with pizza. Pride swelling. Personal tides shifted too. Levi's wanderlusts to Rita residency in New York. 3 months at an artist colony. Come. He asked. But deadlines chained me. Go. I encouraged. Masking ache. Airport goodbye. Kiss fierce. Daily calls. No ghosts. His absence echoed. House too quiet. Jamie's chatter a bomb. Sketches arrived via mail-in in Central Park. Longing in lines. Solitude bred reflection, therapy solo. Unpacking buried, shame the boy I'd been. Suppressing desires in Bible Belt, Texas before fleeing west. Sessions, unearthed peace. Journaling pages filled with gratitude for Levi's light. Calls crackled with heat, his voice husky. Miss your hands. Nights. I trace his scent photos. Body aching. Mid-residency. Crisis. Jamie's ex-friend outed old rumors. School board probing family fitness. Elena lawyered up. But stress peaked Jamie skipping classes. Levi flying back early. Airport reunion, arms crushing. Tears mixing. Won't leave again. Levi vowed. Home a sanctuary. Fall foliage blazed as we rallied press conference. Levi's statement, our family stands. Lines intact. Media spun positive. Detractors drowned out. Jamie aced apps. Acceptance letter to UW with scholarship. We danced in the kitchen. Levi spinning him till dizzy. Thanksgiving swelled the table. Mark and Clara. Elena's chaos. Tyler's clan. Toasts clinked, to survival. To lines redrawn. Post-feast. Levi and I walked the beach. Waves lapping. Think we'd change anything. He pondered. Only the hiding. I said. Hand warm in his. Winter wrapped us cozy. Holidays twinkling. Jamie's coming out ball bow ties and corsages. Us tearing up from bleachers. Levi's next book toured. Me tagging along for whispers and hotel sheets. Life's rhythm, work, love. Advocacy lines weaving tighter. As year turned. Cherry tree heavy with fruit. We picked baskets. Juice staining fingers. To us. Levi toasted. Bite sweet. Love's crossings. Cumulative. Built empires of heart. New Year's dawn broke crisp. Resolutions whispered over champagne mimosas, more travels. Deeper advocacy. Jamie's nest fledged, but always home. Levi's erased lines sequel brewed. Plots twisting through therapy and trials. I pitched a companion graphic memoir. Panels of our raw journey bathroom spark to beachside vows. Collaboration ignited. Studio alive with laughter and late nights. Jamie critiquing over popcorn. Spring brought blooms and births. We fostered twins. 12-year-old sisters from a fractured home. Wide-eyed at our rainbow flags. Chaos rain braiding lessons. Bedtime stories of queer heroes. Levi shown paternal. Bedtime tales improvised. Once. A boy walked in on his dad's heart. Twins giggled. Absorbing normalcy we'd craved. Jamie's graduation loomed. Cap and gown fittings amid tears. UW's lucky. Levi said. Hugging fierce. Ceremony day, sun glinting off the quad. His speech valedictorian sharp. Cross your lines. Find your truth. Diplomas clutched. Party raged barbecue with all. Mark grilling. Clara's pie lauded. Summer sizzled with road trip Redix California coast. Highway 1 winding. Twins car sick but thrilled. Jamie shotgun DJ. Stops at Big Sur. Cliffs dramatic. Levi sketching. Me photographing. Evenings. Campfires crackled confessions twins shyly sharing sibling squabbles. Us modeling vulnerability. Back. Foundation Thrive Collective grants awarded. Youth murals dotting Seattle. Levi keynote at national conference. Voice booming. Love erases no lines. It honors them. Standing ovation. My chest bursting. But undercurrents stirred. Clara's passing. Quiet in sleep. Funeral in Boise. Eulogies soft. Her letter read apology etched. Legacy to our fund. Levi wept. Mark consoled. She came around. Graveside. We scattered petals. Closure bittersweet. Fall's harvest moon saw Jamie dormbound. Tearful goodbye. House echoed anew. But twins filled spaces. Their chatter a chorus. Levi and I reclaimed date nights dinners at Canlis. Overlooking lights. One night. Jazz humming. He slid a folder across. Adoption papers for the girls. Family official. Eyes met. Yes, unspoken. Winter wonderland. Twins' first snowmen. Sledding down Queen and Hill. Holidays, epic extended clan. Gifts wrapped in stories. Mark proposed move west. Closer to you rascals. Spring bloomed with his arrival. Guest house primed. Jamie's freshman break. Tales of dorm crushes. A boyfriend named Alexov spoken artist. We grilled gently. Pride beaming. Levi mentored. Listen to your heart's lines. As summer circled. Cherry tree laden. We picnicked beneath full circle. Twins chasing fireflies. Best life. Levi murmured. Head on shoulder. Lines crossed. Lives woven tapestry rich. Years layered like Seattle's fog. Thickening yet lifting to reveal vistas. Twins Lila and Luna thrived. Middle school whirlwinds with soccer cleats and sketch pads. Echoing Levi's youth. Adoption sealed with cake and cheers. Their laughter the soundtrack to our days. Jamie graduated UW. Cap tossed with Alex's hand in his. Job offer in graphic design our studio's next chapter. Levi's series exploded. Erased Lines trilogy complete. Film rights buzzing from indie directors. I illustrated tie-ins. Our names entwined on covers. Podcast evolved to TV special. Netflix courting crossed lines, a love story. Scripted with care. Actors capturing our essence. Mark settled in. His woodworking shop buzzing beside our garage benches for the twins. Frames for Levi's art. Evenings. Poker games raucous. Stories of Sarah bridging generations. She'd adore this circus. Mark chuckled. Dealing cards. Advocacy amplified. Collective chapters in Portland. Boys youth camps. Art therapies. Levi testified in Olympia. Bill for queer foster protections passing amid applause. I lobbied quietly. Designs funding campaigns. Personal milestones dotted. 10-year crossing anniversary. Vow renewal on the Fairy Winds Flower Girls. Jamie best man. Alex beaming. Vows updated. Through lines redrawn. I choose you. Dance under stars. Eternal. Challenges Nipid twins tween angst. Crushes confusing identities. Lila confided bisexuality over ice cream. Like you and Dad. Levi nodded. Love's spectrum wide. Luna's anxiety therapy. Us holding space. Jamie's wedding to Alex. Garden affair. Us walking him down aisle. Tears flowing. Vows echoed ours. Cycle renewing. Aging crept gentle Levi's hair, silvering at temples. My lines deepening. Trips slowed to cozy, cabin getaways. Books read aloud. One autumn. Diagnosis, my early arthritis. Hands aching over brushes. Levi adapted. Co-illustrating. We're a team. Winters warmed with grandkids Jamie's first. Tiny bundle named after Sarah. Rocking chair creaks. Stories whispered. Mark passed peacefully. Legacy in wood and wisdom. As cherry tree fruited eternal. Levi and I sat beneath. Hands laced. Regrets? He asked. None. You. Infinite gratitude. Lines crossed. Lives luminous love's ultimate erase. to reveal truth. Decades danced by, seasons blurring into a tapestry of triumphs and tender aches. The twins soared Lila to art school in Chicago, murals gracing subways. Luna to environmental science, forests her canvas. Both weddings vibrant with queer joy. Grandkids multiplied. Chaos of Christmases. Our home a haven of stories swapped. Erased lines endured. Taught in schools. Sparking dialogues on taboo loves. The special streamed eternally. Letters flooding. Your courage crossed my lines. Foundation Global. Chapters in Berlin. Sydney beacons for the marginalized.